It's the end of the day with Ray. Hello, my friends. Well, I want to say you're welcome to all those dealers that reached out to me and thanked me for bringing up the conversation with my good friend Bob Goldberg. You know, talking about the HP Amplify contract. I call him the overreaching OEM. You know, me and Bob both think they're a pretty big threat to the dealer channel. And the dealers really need to pay attention to who they give their data to and what data they're given. It's just common sense, right? Especially in a declining, consolidating marketplace. But ladies and gentlemen, I want to talk about this a little bit more. I want to continue on the conversation. I got my slide, HP Amplify. Maybe HP thinks any advertising is good advertising. But folks, I'm not advertising you to join up with the HP Amplify program. I'm advertising you to fire HP and, you know, call my friends at Lexmark or do something different. But what I want everybody to think about is this. HP has a direct footprint in Europe. In 2018, they paid 380 million euros for a company called Apogee, okay, which gave them a direct footprint. Apogee does IT services. You know, they're like a pretty big dealer like you might see here in the United States. You know, think about a big mega dealer that does IT services, sells print and copy. Well, what if HP decided to come to America and do that same thing? Now, I know back in 2018 when they did this deal, if you look on their website, they talk about how they did it to help them disrupt the $55 billion A3 marketplace, all that crazy nonsense. But folks, they also said that they're not going to go direct. Over 90% of their business is through channels, and they're going to keep it that way. Of course, for the last, 5 years, they've struggled trying to get dealers to really implement their A3 strategy. And now that the whole world's going from A3 to A4, that whole mission that they conceived back in 2018, well, obviously has fallen apart. But that doesn't mean that they don't want to control distribution. And so if they were willing to go direct in Europe, are they willing to go direct in the USA? And if they are willing to go direct, I got a question I want to ask y'all. Which mega dealer do they buy here? Which mega dealer in the USA does HP buy? I mean, think about some of these mega dealers. Ubio, Marco. I mean, think about it. FlexPrint, Visual Edge. Is there an organization that HP can kind of do what they did in Europe over here? Get a bigger direct footprint? Now think about why it's so important that OEMs don't have access to all of your customer data when you're dealing with them as a dealer. Especially if they decide to go direct. Do you see where there could be some problems here, folks? Do you see why, an OEM knowing what supplies you're selling an end user, knowing whether they're OEM or remanufactured? I mean, pretty soon are they going to have people that just show up at your office, like the Amplify police squad, and see, look in your supply closet. Remember the old days? I mean, I'm going back 20 years ago when the OEMs, the folks from Ricoh or Konica or Canon, any of the main players would come into your office and they'd yell at you because you weren't buying enough OEM toner. And you try to hide some of that stuff in your warehouse or whatever. They're only going to be here a little while. But eventually the whole world realized that dealers are not going to use 100% OEM in what they do. There's reasons they don't do that. And all reality is the OEMs need to accept that. Hell, most of these OEMs do it themselves, which is just the irony in all of this. How do you think they supply their non-OEM brands that they have out in the marketplace? You think they buy OEM toner when they could buy a remanufactured or compatible cheaper? Hell yes, they buy the remanufactured and compatible. That's what they do. Well, they scream at you for doing the same thing. But ladies and gentlemen, we got to think about this. If HP goes direct in the US, who's the mega dealer? Which one would they buy? What kind of data would they now be getting? How competitive would that be in your marketplace? Would they cancel you because they got someone bigger? A lot of things to think about here, folks. HP has one thing in mind, one goal. They want to disrupt the $55 billion A3 marketplace with their machines. I don't think they particularly care how they get those machines in the customer's office. They don't care, folks. They're going to do it with any means possible, just like every other OEM. And as the OEM starts to consolidate, that's going to be pretty threatening to the status quo of our entire industry to begin with. But now I want to take it one step further. Remember those videos where I talked about Xerox ought to call up Konica Minolta and say, hey, give us your direct operations. We'll go ahead and run those for you. You can manufacture our A3 products. What if HP did that? Could you imagine? Can you imagine if HP called up Konica and said, hey, let's work out a deal here. You know, you guys are losing, millions, hundreds of millions of dollars. You've made some leadership changes. You're struggling delivering the IT products. Of course, we sell a whole bunch of IT products. You know, we got HP Compute. So why don't we just take over Konica Minolta Direct, all covered? Oh my gosh, just is your head getting ready to explode? You got an overreaching OEM called HP who wants to get all kinds of data from the end users, right? From the dealers about the end users. They go out and buy a major player in the space. Those of you that are saying this could never happen, use your imagination because it could. Possibilities become probabilities and probabilities become realities quicker than ever. You've heard me say that before. You know, post-pandemic will make strange bedfellows. A declining marketplace, a consolidating marketplace will make strange bedfellows. This is why it's so important for dealers to understand what they're doing when they get in bed with OEMs. What data are they giving them? Konica Minolta owns all covered. What's in all covered, folks? I'm not doing this to dig on these people. I'm doing this to bring some realities to light. All covered's an IT services business that some dealers are using to deliver IT services to end users. What if HP owned that in a couple weeks? All covered has an ERP system in there for the dealer imaging channel. I'm not sure a whole lot of dealers are using that ERP system anymore, but what happens if HP got a hold of that? Possibilities become probabilities, and probabilities become realities quicker than ever. It's only through what we imagine that we prepare for what could be coming. And like I said, ladies and gentlemen, who knows if any of this will happen? But if we don't start thinking about these probabilities, we're going to get surprised when they do happen. And we know for a fact that HP Amplify is an aggressive contract. It's a contract to tell HP everything they can possibly find out about your end users. And one day, they won't need you. Or one day, they'll come to market in your market with somebody different. How does that affect you and your business? The most important thing you have in your business is your data. And I hope that my Amplify series is helping dealers understand the importance of this. To at least clearly define what HP wants, what you're willing to give them, what are they going to do with it, and how does it help you? How does it help you, the dealer? And if you're not satisfied with those answers, just go to another partner. Go to another partner. But whatever you do, my friends, remember this. Status quo is the killer of all that'll be invented. Don't get stuck in status quo, and I'll see you all tomorrow.